Hey guys, YouTube 100 here. Alright, now here I am with another review of a live action movie based on a cartoon. Alright, and next up, now here I am with a review for the Scooby-Doo sequel, Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed. Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised that a sequel to Scooby Doo was even made. Like, was there really that much of a demand for a sequel to be made? I mean, because, yeah, like I said, just the first movie wasn't even that very well received. And, yeah, plus, yeah, I mean, and, yeah, plus, was there really, like, demand for, another one of these movies to be made? Just, yeah, I really didn't, see, what the point really was of doing another one. Yeah. And yeah, so this movie was released in 2004, so 2 years after the first one was released. Yeah, and just about everybody that was worked on the first movie did return. Like Roger Gosnell returned as director, James Gunn returned as writer, and pretty much all the original cast did return. Yeah, the movie still does have Freddie Prinze Jr., Matthew Lillard, Sarah Michelle Gellar, and Linda Cardellini, all reprising their roles as the various members of Mystery Inc. Yeah, so pretty much everybody did a return for this movie, and yeah, this movie pretty much was exactly the same as the first one. Just yeah, it just is not a very good movie. It pretty much does suffer from the same problems as the first movie. Yeah, terrible effects, just not very good writing. The story is pretty useless. So this movie it really didn't improve on anything from the first movie really. So yeah, what can I really say? Just yeah, this movie pretty much does really fall flat as a sequel and as well as just a movie on its own. So this movie what I just don't really know what to say about it. I mean, yeah, it was it's just really pointless to do, and yeah, it really just does suffer from the same problems as the first one. Just yeah, like I said, the effects are awful. The jokes really aren't funny. The writing's not very good, and yeah, it just really does fall flat on so many things. So I just really don't know what else I can really say about it. Just yeah, it is a bad movie, and it just seemed totally useless and pointless to do. I don't know if this was just something under a deal with Warner Brothers or something, but yeah, maybe that's the reason why they did a sequel to the film. Maybe just because there was it was in the contract for them. But yeah, whatever the reason is, just yeah, this film just it was it's just really useless and pointless, and yeah, and it doesn't even continue on with events from the first movie. So I just really don't understand why they even did this. So yeah, the story for this movie is that um like there's another mystery, of course, that the gang is trying to solve. Yeah, and they're trying to find some clues as to who's really behind all this. So similar to what was going on in the first movie, but yeah, it's a different story this time because yeah, there's this mysterious figure that is going around kind of haunting the gang, and then showing how it's able to bring monsters that the gang had defeated before back, and so yeah, they just really have to try to figure out how to stop them and all this stuff, and yeah, and there's also this journalist who ends up ridiculing the gang and ends up turning the just turning the town against them. So yeah, so that's going on, and then there's also a situation with Shaggy and Scooby. After hearing that just how they really are always criticized because they always end up bungling every plan that Mr. Inc has. They really do want to better themselves and act like real detectives. So throughout this movie, Shaggy and Scooby are really going out on their own to really trying to find some clues to this mystery as well. Oh yeah, and so they're trying to solve it by themselves, and then yeah, and we also have this situation where there's this scientist that end up going to end up going to prison and prison, but then yeah, then it's assumed that he died, and so then the gang then tries to go to his former cellmate to try to get some answers behind this, but yeah, showing that the former cellmate has kind of changed his ways and stuff, and so yeah, but they still do suspect that he's like behind some of this, like this, yeah, and then yeah, so they're this movie's just like them like trying to really like figure out the stuff behind like the scientist's death and if the cellmate is responsible for it and all this stuff. Yeah, and it shows there's also Velma does like end up like picking up a love interest in this movie, and it shows that like just how their connection really is doesn't really work because Velma is really just like feeling like very awkward around him and all this other stuff. So yeah, so this movie just has like a whole bunch of stuff going on and none of it really does go anywhere. Here, yeah, even like the stuff with the evil, like the mysterious figure in this movie, yeah, they really are like trying to figure out like who it is, and like you can pretty much like guess from the beginning like who it really is, or at least like who we're expected to believe it is, and then yeah, then there's like an interesting twist on it at the end. So yeah, so this movie we just really just have like a bunch of stuff going on, and yeah, it does like have some jokes throughout, but yeah, like I said, just a lot of the jokes really do fall flat in this movie. So like I said, just this movie really just doesn't really like improve on anything from the first film at all. So yeah, so I just really don't really see like anything to really recommend about this movie. So yeah, so I would just give it probably like a 1.5 star, 1.5 stars out of 4. So yeah, a pretty pointless movie to be made and a pretty unnecessary sequel. All right, so yeah, so I really don't have a lot to say about this movie. So yeah, so I guess I'll just start talking about the premise. So yeah, so the movie opens up showing that how there's an opening of like an exhibition at the Coulsonian Criminology Museum, which all Mystery Inc. all attends. Yeah, and it shows how it's like a commemorating like the like past mysteries, and it shows like there's display of each culprit's monster costume. But then yeah, then like the event gets interrupted by an individual that's known as the evil masked figure, and yep, ends up interrupting the event, and I don't like stealing two costumes and using a reanimated version of the pterodactyl ghost. Yeah, yeah. And it shows that like this journalist Heather Jasper Howe, who's played by Alicia Silverstone, is just always like a ridiculing Mystery Inc. and yeah, and she's just always like taking everything they say out of context when she like has interviews with them. Yeah, yeah. Then the gang then like starts to come to a conclusion that the mastermind behind like the evil masked figure in this entire mystery, they start like visiting like old cases, thinking that like an old vengeful enemy could be the mastermind behind this evil masked figure. And then as they were visiting old cases, then like they started to they came across like a case about like the former pterodactyl ghost, and his name was a Dr. Jonathan Jacobo, who was played by Tim Blake Nelson. And yeah, and there's like this backstory of like how he was sent to prison after he was captured, but then during like a attempted escape, it ended up falling, and he presumed to have died by like getting swept away in the ocean. Yeah. Then they started to suspect um the that another mastermind behind the this evil masked figure could actually be like the former Black Knight ghost, Jeremiah Wickles, who was also Jacobo's released cellmate. Yeah. Then yeah. Then like I said, Shaggy and Scooby wanted to better themselves and be real detectives. So then yeah. So then as Mystery Inc. then decided to try to get some answers by going to Wickles' home. Then yeah, they eventually ended up like finding a Celtic text that is like an instruction manual on how to create monsters by combining magic and science. And then Shaggy and Scooby then eventually like found a note that invited Wickles to the Fox Ghost nightclub, and then showed them that the Black Knight Ghost then started to attack. But then all the Mystery Inc. were able to fend the ghost off, and they were able to flee. Yeah, but then, yeah, it also showed that they also ended up like discover ended up like finding like a book in Wickles' mansion, and it showed that like the key ingredient to creating monsters was a substance called it's called a randomonium, which was like a hyperproduct of silver mines, which included like Coolsville's mining town. Yeah, and yeah, and then like I said, like in this film, Vilma ends up like having a romantic connection with the curator of the museum, Patrick Wisely, who's played by Seth Green in this movie. Yeah, and it shows how like just like Vilma just like feels really awkward around him, and just yeah, he was like a wanting to like ask Vilma out, but Vilma just had to like really like just shy and jumpy around him, so she was like running away. Yeah, then finally, then like as Patrick came to the Mystery Inc.'s lair to like ask Vilma out, how then Daphne then decided to like doll Vilma up to make her look better. So then eventually then Vilma then appeared with like her hair longer and wearing like uh this like a red leather suit, and yeah, Velma did look pretty good there. Yeah, yeah, and then like Daphne, Velma, Fred, and Patrick and all went to the museum, but then they eventually then discovered that the rest of the costumes were stolen, and then as like Heather Jasper Howe was like still like giving another interview with Fred, then like taking everything he said out of context again, making Mystery Inc. look like they like weren't very good at their jobs. Yeah, it eventually ended up like turning the entire city against them. Yeah, yeah. Then, as that was going on, then Shaggy and Scooby, after reading that note from Wickles, they then uh like donned disguises and then snuck into the Fox Ghost, which like they discovered that it was a hangout for all of the villains that Mystery Inc. had defeated before. Yeah. Then after Shaggy then spoke to Wickles, they then learned that like Wickles like just his has like left his criminal ways, and then yeah, then eventually then like later on Shaggy and Scooby then spotted Patrick seeming to like threaten someone that appears to be a member of his staff. So this was like kind of like suggesting that like maybe Patrick was the evil masked figure. Yeah, yeah. Then eventually, then the Shaggy and Scooby then like found Wickles leaving the club and followed him, and then yeah, they like followed him into like a mines, and then yeah, then Fred, Daphne, and Vilma then like followed, and then they saw that Wickles like had like plans to like turn the mines into a summer camp for children. Yeah, 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 and it was also like as a Fred, Daphne, and Vilma like confronted Wickles, he then like stated that like he and Jacobo like had a lot of hate for each other, and that he really didn't have any connection to the museum robberies. Yeah, yeah. Then like as Scooby and Shaggy were investigating more, they then like found this lab with a whole bunch of potions to create monsters, and then we had like this bit with Shaggy and Scooby like drinking some of the potions and transforming their body, which included Scooby-Doo turning into Taz from Looney Tunes. So yeah, kind of I guess this was just a Warner Brothers Easter egg. Yeah. Then they also then eventually like found the lab where like a lot of the costumes are vitalized as like supernatural creatures, and then like as Scooby and Shaggy then like messing around with the control panels of the machine, they ended up like inadvertently bringing like several costumes to life, and then yeah, then the masked figure then like was shown that they like terrorize the city. But then then Mystery Inc. then ended up fleeing with the panel that controls the machine that makes the monsters. Yeah. Then they later on found out that they would be able to reverse the control panel's power by altering the wiring, which would destroy the monsters. Yeah, yeah. But then it showed a Captain Cutler then emerging from the nearby lake, and then ended up having Mystery Inc. being forced to retreat to the mines. Yeah. Yeah, then it showed this they encountered various other monsters along the way, and then when Velma then tried to hand the panel over to Scooby and Shaggy, they just ended up refusing to take it because they just felt that they would once again ruin everything, then just admit giving their feelings of inadequacy. Yeah, but then Velma then just like helped the two of them realize that they're as fine as they are, and they are heroes in their own way. Yeah. Yeah. Then eventually, Velma then ended up discovering this shrine dedicated to Doctor Jacobo, which was built by Patrick. So, yeah, Velma then suspected Patrick of being the mastermind behind all this. But then, yeah, Patrick then proved that he was innocent after Velma then ended up falling through a catwalk, and Patrick ended up saving her. Yeah. Yeah, but then Patrick, after he saved Vilma, was then captured by the pterodactyl ghost, and then Mystery Inc. then finally then confronted the evil masked figure. But then the tar monster then appeared and then captured everyone. But then Scooby ended up using a fire extinguisher to freeze the body, and then he was able to reconnect the control panel and activated it, and all the monsters were restored back to their original forms. And then the gang then ended up capturing the evil masked figure, and then brought the masked figure before the townspeople and the authorities, and then they revealed the masked figure to, in fact, be Heather Jasper Howe. And it was also revealed that her cameraman Ned was also working with her to throw everybody off. So when the masked figure appeared, when she was just standing right there to make it seem like it wasn't her. Yeah, and then when and it was asked how uh why Hal was committing these crimes. Then Vilma revealed that Heather Jasper Howe is in fact actually Dr. Jonathan Jacobo, and she figured this out after she realized that after she found a newspaper clipping showing that Jacobo was in front of the museum, and the construction actually began a year after he was believed to be dead, and this revealed that he did survive his attempted prison escape, and showing that showing the Wickles was innocent. Yeah. So then, and this was also a plan by Jacobo to get revenge on the gang after they just hang after they first captured him, and this was his newfound way to get to defeat them, and by creating all these monsters. So then, so Jacobo and Ned were then arrested, and then it showed the the townspeople now then praising Mystery Inc. And then it showed they were celebrating their victory at Fox Goes with Wickles and all the reformed criminals, and that's how it ended. So so this movie just really is just a whole filled with a whole bunch of stuff like this, and a lot of it really doesn't go anywhere. The stuff with Velma and Patrick and Scooby and Shaggy wanting to better themselves as detectives, and the stuff with the evil mask figure, and just all these monsters along. So so I guess this movie really just does feel more like a fans more just homages to previous villains, and it just feels like it's just a throwback to a lot of villains that they did take on before, in the cartoons. So yeah, so I guess like this really just comes off as really just as people like just remembering stuff from the cartoons with like all these like monsters coming back. Yeah, but yeah, a lot of it really doesn't go anywhere. Like the humor, once again, it doesn't work. Effects are really bad, especially like with like on all these monsters, and yeah, and the CG for Scooby is still just as bad as it was in the first film. Yeah. So yeah, so this movie, like I said, this movie really just does suffer like pretty much the same problems that the first film did. Just bad effects, bad writing, unfunny jokes, and yeah, yeah. So it really is just like oh, pretty much like all the problems that the first movie did have, and this movie really didn't improve on anything. So yeah, and like I said, just it really didn't make sense to really make a sequel to the first one, especially seeing as how this movie really doesn't continue on with any events from the first one. I mean, I remember like I like had a feeling that like the masked figure was like Scrappy, like came back and returned to try to get revenge on Mystery Inc. again. But yeah, it wasn't Scrappy, so yeah, it wasn't even like any continuation from that story either. So yeah, so this movie just really was just like pretty pointless, and I'm really not sure why they even made it. Yeah, and apparently there was like plans to make a third Scooby-Doo movie, but yeah, because this movie really didn't do very well, like they ended up scrapping the planned third movie. Yeah, and instead they just like made those like two made-for-TV Scooby-Doo films for Cartoon Network. But yeah, I'm not going to be talking about those because I really don't consider those to still be part of this series. So yeah, so I really this is really the only film that I really consider like a true like sequel to the first movie. So yeah, so I really just consider these two to be part of like the movie series, and those other two films to just be like something totally different. Yeah, but yeah, so yes, like I said, this movie really just yeah, it really is not a good movie and just a totally pointless film to be made to have even been made. So yeah, so like I said, I give the film a 1.5 stars out of 4. All right, so yeah, so I just really do not recommend this film. So yeah, so if you haven't seen the film before, I really say just like keep it that way and don't check it out because there's really nothing really in this film to really recommend. And so yeah, yeah. So I guess this is really like all I can really say about it. All right, so this does it for my review of Scooby-Doo 2: Monsters Unleashed. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review. And yeah, and now for my next review, next up, like I've now talked about, like like the movies about like the famous cartoon dog. Up next, I'm gonna be talking about the movie he based on like the famous cartoon cat, and I'm sure you do know what I'm who I am referring to. So yeah, so my reviews for those movies are going to be coming up next. So stay tuned for those. All right, but yeah, but this is my review of Scooby Doo 2. So I hope you guys did enjoy this review. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.